Good evening, Bahamas, on the broadcast tonight. A teenager out on bail is killed here in the capital. Plus, a prominent QC speaks about the privacy of Bahamian citizens. And the Miss World Bahamas contestants get ready to hit the stage.
Our news is brought to you by Alive, the nation's newest and best LTE network.
Good to be alive.
Welcome to our News, the weekend edition, and thanks for joining us. I'm Andrew Knowles. The country's murder count continues to climb as a teenage boy is shot and killed here in the capital. This time, the incident happening just off Clardige Road earlier this morning. Police also confirming that the victim was out on bail for a serious offense and was being electronically monitored. Another family is left to mourn the death of a loved one after a teenager was fatally shot early Saturday morning. Police say it was shortly after 9 a.m. when they were made aware of gunshots being fired at Raymond Road off Clardige Road. But when officers arrived on the scene, it was where they would find the bullet-riddled body of the country's latest murder victim.
The only information we're working with thus far is that shortly before 9:20, a silver color vehicle drove through the corner. Two occupants emerged from the vehicle, all wearing hooded jackets. They produced weapons and they discharged at the victim, subsequently hitting him multiple times, which resulted in his death.
A blood-stained ground covered in dirt marked the spot where the victim's lifeless body would lay. A crowd of onlookers gathered behind the caution tape, watching as police combed the active crime scene. For this lady, it became unbearable as she had to be carried away. Officer in charge of the Central Detective Unit, Chief Superintendent Solomon Cash, confirmed that the victim was known to police as he was being electronically monitored. In recent weeks, several people out on bail for serious offenses have been targeted and killed. However, Chief Superintendent Cash doesn't believe it's a developing trend and gave this warning to those who are being monitored.
We monitor these individuals as we know they're out here in the public. But again, we would want to advise persons who are privileged to be out on bail, to be careful and cautious of their movement in society, because who knows? I can tell you, we are persons who organize themselves in small pockets of criminal groups who target each other.
And as officers continue on with their investigations, they are making their usual appeal.
I would want to appeal to the public who resides in this area or who may have been passing during the time of this incident, that they can feel free to contact the police at telephone number 919 or 502-9991 or 2.
This latest killing marks the 81st for the year. In other news this evening, now that the appeal into the controversial Save the Bays matter has wrapped up, outspoken attorney Fred Smith says he hopes to never again see the day when the privacy of Bahamian citizens is taken advantage of. Smith was referring to the matter that involved the private emails of Save the Bays members being read in the House of Assembly. Our Jasmine Brown has more in this report.
It is completely abhorrent to our constitutional democracy to have parliamentarians going into Parliament, abusing their parliamentary privileges, and raping our privacy in public. And I hope that day never happens again in the Bahamas.
The parliamentary privilege appeal that was previously lodged by the Crown under the Christie administration was formally withdrawn and dismissed in the Court of Appeal on Tuesday. In May, Crown Counsel Lauren Klein asked Justices Dame Anita Allen, John Isaacs, and Maureen Crane Scott for an adjournment to allow the new Attorney General Carl Bathel to be briefed on the conduct of the proceedings thus far and for instructions to be taken. Weeks later, the government filed notice of its intent to withdraw its appeal of the landmark Supreme Court ruling on parliamentary privilege concerning former Marathon MP and Cabinet Minister Jerome Fitzgerald.
Oh, I have no idea. I have no idea. But there's certainly the $150,000 that Mr. Fitzgerald is going to pay with interest.
And that's not all Save the Bays is seeking, according to Smith.
And Save the Bays is now entitled to all of those documents that Mr. Fitzgerald and his cohorts illegally had, unconstitutionally had. They committed a constitutional crime against Save the Bays. My papers, Zach Bacon's papers, Save the Bays papers, my employees' papers. It was a disgrace. It was a rape of our privacy. And we will now require the government and Mr. Fitzgerald to return all of our papers. Because no doubt he had copies. I want an affidavit sworn by Mr. Fitzgerald that he doesn't have one piece of paper that belongs to me, Save the Bays, or my other clients.
In March 2016, Fitzgerald accused STB of being a political organization seeking to overthrow the Progressive Liberal Party government under the guise of an environmental group. In the House of Assembly, Mr. Fitzgerald read private emails from STB members and others which he said supported his claims. In her landmark ruling on August 2, 2016, Justice Charles said it was unquestionable that a resident's private correspondence should not be the subject of public discussion and scrutiny, let alone in the House of Assembly. Reporting for our News, I'm Jasmine Brown.
Thanks, Jasmine. The National Development Plan, also known as Vision 2040, is a draft for the future development of the Bahamas over the next 25 years. It's the result of consultation with more than 200 stakeholders, and now it also has the support of the Organization for Responsible Governance. Our Christina McNeil tells us what that means.
At more than 400 pages, the National Development Plan is a hefty document, but it's still incomplete. That's one reason ORG Executive Director Matt Aubrey says civil society has endorsed the plan so that it can be adopted and utilized across sectors to coordinate efforts to develop the Bahamas.
You'll find many of the issues, if not all of our issues, chronicled in there in some way, form, or fashion, but put together in a very comprehensive, easy-to-follow way. The reason that we endorse it as an organization and we push for it to be adopted more by civil society and private industry, not just government, is this can be a way that we all start to monitor how we work collectively on these issues.
With the recent change in government, he adds that it is more important than ever to have a standardized approach to how we look at the roadmap for the next 25 years.
If we're going to show progress on these big, complex issues, we need to have a standard way of measuring not only where we are, where we're going, and who's going to be doing what. And that's very much the spirit of what the National Development Plan is.
The NDP covers 4 key pillars: governance, human capital, environment, and economy. And Aubrey says Dr. Nicola Virgil-Roll and her team did an amazing job consulting more than 200 stakeholder groups to benchmark where the Bahamas is and what the issues are.
Part of our endorsement is to make sure that, one, we all have a common path and recognize that good work has been done and should be built upon. But it's also to make sure that the current administration doesn't go back and say, well, we want our version of it. That in truth, what's contained in the overall report and tentative plan that they've put forward is pretty inclusive. And they've looked to a lot of different sources. And better than that, they still are listening and receiving information and helping that to inform and develop what's coming forward. It's not finalized yet.
That's where public consultation comes in.
The National Development Plan is a roadmap towards a shared vision of social progress, a modern environment, good governance, and prosperity. The findings from the State of the Nation report are the first step of the National Development Plan. The next step needs you.
To learn more and to contribute ideas and interest, visit vision2040bahamas.org. Reporting for our News, I'm Christina McNeil.
Deputy Prime Minister Peter Turnquest says the government has noticed that there is an encouraging level of interest in Grand Bahama. The finance minister said investors, foreign and local, have been expressing interest in starting and expanding businesses on the island. But he said it's no secret the island's economy hasn't been the best. With that, Turnquest said the government is trying to ensure that they don't make the same mistake previous governments have made by giving far too many concessions.
We believe we have to change this model because one of the things that you will know about the tourism industry, we don't own the hotels for the most part, but yet we spend a significant amount of money in terms of marketing supports and in duty concessions. And we get no recovery for it, except through taxes from employees of these entities.
Frank West was speaking to Rotarians of West Nassau when he was asked about the focus government is putting on the economy of Grand Bahama. The finance minister, who was also the representative for East Grand Bahama, said for far too long the foreign hotel owners have been winning big from Grand Bahama's tourism industry, while the government lost big.
For all of the investment that we've put into tourism, our national debt continues to go up at an accelerated rate. And it is because for every dollar that we are earning in that industry, we're putting out the lion's share of it through these kind of concessions and consumption expenditure. So what we want to do is to encourage a domestic market, domestic ownership of not only the tourism industry, but more importantly, a manufacturing type industry.
He said, frankly, that's the only way real wealth will be created for Bahamians.
Services is fine, and we've done very well at providing services. But it's time now to focus on what is the next big thing. What is it that is going to step into the breach in our economy when we have trauma that causes our tourism numbers to sag, or we have external pressures from these regulating agencies that put increased pressure on our financial services industry.
And we'll take a break here, but still ahead tonight. A former opposition leader weighs in on the arrest of former politicians. That story and more when our news returns.